I want to start this video off by saying I don't know if I thoroughly disagree with them banning Gliscor. I want to make that very clear. It's not like I guess the word is I'm disappointed with what they did with the Gliscor. And by the way, I'm just going to have gameplay in the background running as I talk. This is just going to be a free talk because I have a lot of thoughts on pertaining to Gliscor being banned from Scarlet and Vayu, the competitive OU tier. So I'll put up the page that I'm talking about. It's on Smogon forums if you guys want to go find this for yourself. I'll hopefully I remember to link it down below or whatever. But so the reason for banning Gliscor in the OU tier is because it was one of the best utility mons that could abuse itself in being the utility role. It was really good with spikes, poison heal, toxic, earthquake, knockoff. It had a lot of what it could do, especially spikes. Poison heal was one of the best things because spikes inherently was really good. Hazards in itself is really good because of Gholdengo, because of Gholdengo's ability good as gold, etc, right? So spikes, poison heal, toxic, all that was kind of just an ultimate utility check. You have spikes to put up, you have protect to get poison heal, and then you can also toxic other opponents that do switch and that are not steel or poison types, and it just makes it thoroughly very annoying because it's so much hazard and just a utility play for opponents to deal with. Fine. You know what? I agree on that standpoint. Maybe Gliscor, for example, might be more to utility. Sure, right? But to say a utility mon like Gliscor should be banned with other things in the meta that probably should be taken care of over first, namely Gholdengo and Kingambit, I think we are now starting to go a bit far with our bans. Per se. Again, I'm not saying I disagree with the ban of Gliscor, but our reasoning is a bit just blah. And also Gliscor did have glaring downsides to it. For example, you had things like Hatterene with Magic Bounce that could stop spikes, right? You have Magic Guard Clefable, you have Air Balloon Gholdengo who could hardwall anything else that's like knockoff or whatever, right? So it can hardwall most of the other things, right? And you had other various Pokemon like Restondozo, Worry Mungus, Take Heart, Manaphy, Corviknight, etc., right? Those are all things that could really help Gliscor. That's a lot more counters to something like Volcarona that was banned way earlier, right? That's a lot more counters. I think just because a Pokemon is dominant as a utility Pokemon, I don't think we should punish it for dominating because of the circumstances it's in. The reason why Spikes is so good is because of Gholdengo and its ability good as gold. So, and that's what's really making this the forefront of everything, because there's only so much you can do with hazards. That's why Hisuian Samurai was so good with Cecil's Edge before Gliscor came in and obviously took his job as a Spikes role, etc., right? But that's why Hisuian Samurai was so good, because advent of Spikes, right? And it could do massive damage. Now, I know Gliscor does much more things other than Spikes, right? Knockoff is a huge utility move. Toxic is also pretty huge. It could U-turn out, has EQ. It could do hell. It could even do like excuse my language. It could even do like Sword Stance, Facade sets, right? So there's so much Gliscor could offer on your team. But my thing is, the Pokemon that it's faltering against, Hatterene, Dondozo, Worrysita, Mungus, etc., that's a pretty long list. Dondozo, Manaphy, Hatterene, those are pretty popular Pokemon as well. It's not like these Pokemon are not popular. It's not like something like, for example, Ogerpon-Hearthflame, where it only had like maybe like one or two counters, if at all, right? Like, it did have counterplay. It's a utility mon. Now, I know Gliscor and Great Tusk, the situations might be a bit different, right? Great Tusk is good, but it's not OP. Like, at least prior to the DLC, right? Gliscor right now, it's OP in the sense its utilities are so good. But you don't even see Gliscor that high in the usage compared to everything else. What do you see in the top like 5? You see Gholdengo, Great Tusk, and Kingambit. 2 of those 3 Pokemon are actually really troublesome in the metagame, and people have been extensively talking about banning them for a while. 2 of them have not really got that much action, and Great Tusk in the meanwhile is there as a good utility mon. Are we banning? I know Gliscor again is a whole different circumstance than Great Tusk. Please don't get me wrong, okay? But should we ban a Pokemon for being too good at utility because of the circumstances that is in the metagame? If Smogon's goal is to reduce spikes, or to reduce hazards, because Gliscor, let's say for example, Gliscor was so OP at setting hazards, it was so OP at setting spikes, it was so OP at absolutely taking over the metagame because it could punish people who switch out for spikes, or etc, right? It's not the reason why spikes is good. It's a benefit of why spikes is so good because of Gholdengo. And furthermore, Gholdengo and Kingambit have had extensive forum talks. You can find all over the forums, right? Before like the DLC, after post-home, before home, etc. There were so many talks. Gholdengo's ability is broken. Kingambit abuses Terra, which is also another topic. How do we ban Gliscor over Kingambit when Kingambit abuses Terra and actually plays an RNG game? Isn't that more detrimental than Gliscor like setting spikes or something like that. At least Gliscor does have counterplay. King Gambit rewards losing. I made a video about this a while ago. King Gambit rewards losing. There's nothing around it. King Gambit really does award that. And especially since last minute situation, it could be 5v1. But as long as you have King Gambit, Supreme Overlord, the SD up, and you have a Terror flying, and your opponent doesn't know your Terror type yet, you could spam Sucker Punch, Kowtow Cleave, or whatever the hell you really need to do, right? Excuse my language again. But Black Glasses, whatever, right? King Gambit is so good. And I don't like the fact we're banning a Pokemon that is so good at utility because of the circumstances in. It's not its fault Hazards is so good. It's not its fault like it can abuse whatever is there. And it's not so RNG like King Gambit, right? It's only abusing what gold. It's a byproduct of Goldango, essentially. Gliscor is a byproduct of Goldango. It doesn't even feel like an Ubermon. We have banned almost 19 Pokemon. This is almost enough to make its own tier. We have banned like 19 Pokemon from the OU metagame that's not going to sit in Ubers and do practically nothing. My situation is, what if we, or at least my thoughts is, why don't we just unban them in OU and see what happens, right? And then really dissect what's OP and what's not OP, maybe, because everything's new again, right? For example, maybe Chi-Yu and Hearthflame might be able to coexist. Probably not, right? But I'm just saying, right? Maybe we could do something like that. Gliscor does not feel like an Uber Pokemon. Gliscor is good because of the circumstances it's in. I don't get this argument that I don't know how people want to ban, and a 66% clip, it wasn't even close. It's like a lot of people want to ban Gliscor, which is just insane. Like, Corviknight is especially a good counter to it. It's not Corviknight can't counter it. Corviknight is one of the best counters to it, right? Because it's not much you can, like, knock off. Like, it has Rocky Helmet. Earthquake doesn't do anything, right? Toxic is immune to it, right? And you can have spikes in there, but then you can also, like, defog it if you have to until Goldango comes in, right? So there's so much. And it's not like an abused Terra. It's not like it abused Terra for its own good, right? For example, Gliscor had natural 4x sweep to ice. He could like Terra to like water, for example, to make it not that weak. But right, Gliscor in itself wasn't that like OP. Its stats are like good, but it's not like anything out of this world. There's so much counterplay to it. Banning that because it was too good at its job for being a utility. Why do we not do anything about Great Tusk? Great Tusk was amazing in utility. Remember back in the day when it had 50% usage, dating back like 5-7 months now? Remember when it had 50% usage back in the day? It's not like we had to ban Great Tusk because of how OP it is, which is really good at its job. Gliscor is really good at its job with these circumstances around it. Like, were you going to ban Great Tusk because it could do Stealth Rocks, Rapid Spin, and all that? It had to do all that to just cover for Goldango's huge hole in the metagame. Gliscor in itself, while it might be the opposite end of the spectrum, is practically doing the same job. It's on every team because of how much of a glue piece it is and how good it is for many teams. While it might be on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's not like healing the hole, it's rather creating a bigger hole for it. It's not its fault that those are the circumstances there. And I feel like we should take a step back. So in my opinion, I think OU is starting to become a bit of a joke. The fact we have not taken any action on the other two Pokemon that have been in talks for months. Like King Gambit and Baxcalibur, they were in talks since not DLC, since post-home, right? But we banned Baxcalibur, King Gambit is still here. We have Goldango, and then Goldango is still here. Goldango's been here since the start of Scarlet Violet. People wanted it gone since the start. It's still here because of the amount of hazards. Now, there's both sides to it. I'm not going to get to ban whether Goldango should be banned or not. But to say Gliscor should be banned before Goldango, I think that is severely wrong, and there's something wrong with that. Feel free to obviously respectively disagree in the comments down below. Give me your thoughts, etc. Let me know in the comments below. If you guys are new to this channel, I do produce a lot more competitive content and not rant videos like this all the time, or rant or discussion videos. I do have a lot of edited content. I did make a video yesterday, in fact, on Glastrier and why it's actually one of the few Pokemon with legendary stats that's just really bad. So be sure to check that out. Be in the card somewhere in the description, or I don't know, you just go on my channel. I literally made it yesterday. If you're new, be sure to subscribe. I make all this kind of content like this. Yeah, thank you to my members for everyday support. I really appreciate it. And join the Discord. Links in the description down below, and the Chompy Discord. It's free, and we have an awesome community there. Other than that, though, thanks for watching as always.